Picture yourself aboard a crowded subway train heading to work like any other day. Suddenly, things go haywire. You're navigating through one of the most chaotic and terrifying experiences of your life. Welcome, listeners, to this episode of Hear the Web by me, Tom, and my co-host Lily. We have a startling true tale to tell today.
Yes, you're right about that, Tom. The incident we're going to discuss today is a shocking case of terrorism on a mass transit system. Just last year, a man named Frank James set off a smoke bomb and fired a handgun on a busy New York City subway train during peak morning commute time. He went on to injure 29 people, although miraculously, none were killed. For his appalling actions, he's now been sentenced to 10 concurrent life terms plus an extra 10 years in prison.
That's right, Lily. This series of events unfolded on a Manhattan-bound N subway train traveling through Brooklyn's Sunset Park neighborhood. Can you imagine the chaos when Frank James, who was 62 years old at the time, put on a gas mask and triggered a smoke device? It must have been utterly terrifying.
It definitely was, Tom. And adding to this terror, he fired a handgun at least 33 times. According to prosecutors, this smoke device caused passengers to scramble to one end of the subway car, effectively making them easier targets for James.
Tragically, 10 people were shot and wounded, while others were injured either by the smoke or the frantic crowds. In total, 29 people were hospitalized, highlighting the true gravity of what Frank James did that day. One unfortunate passenger, Claire Tunkel, described how it was impossible to see anything, but you could feel it, the terrible sensation of bodies crashing and colliding in the smoke-filled carriage.
When the subway train finally got to the next station, there was a mass exodus. Everyone fled, including the perpetrator, Frank James. His escape triggered a citywide manhunt and stoked fears about the safety of the city's crucial transit system. But fortunately, investigators found a few items left behind at the scene, including a credit card, a set of keys, a construction jacket, and a gun. These led them right to James.
The story took an even more bizarre turn after that, didn't it, Lily?
It sure did, Tom. More than 24 hours after the shooting, James actually called in a tip on himself to police, saying he was at a McDonald's on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. He was arrested on a nearby street when bystanders pointed him out to arriving officers.
Now, let's fast forward a bit. At the trial, prosecutors requested a life sentence while the shooter's attorneys asked for only 18 years. The court did not agree with the latter. In January, Frank James pleaded guilty to 10 counts of committing a terrorist attack or other violence against a mass transportation vehicle. And then he had to face an additional firearms charge in relation to the April 2022 attack.
The U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of New York, Breon Peace, after the sentencing said, "The impact and the fear were felt beyond the direct victims in that subway car and in that station that morning. The defendant terrorized the city at large."
Agreed. And let's not forget that this dreadful event took place against a backdrop of an increase in shootings in New York over the past 2 years and a particular rise in violence on the subway that became the focus of Mayor Eric Adams' administration.
That's true, Tom. It is also worth noting that before this catastrophe, James had a criminal history with 12 prior arrests in New York City and New Jersey for charges including a criminal sex act, theft of service, and disorderly conduct. However, since James had no prior felony convictions, he was able to purchase a gun.
It's indeed a grim reminder of the current state of things. His attorneys do plan on appealing the sentence, so we will certainly keep an eye on this case and share updates when they become available.
That wraps up our story for today. The harrowing tale of Frank James, who terrorized a New York subway, causing chaos and triggering fears regarding the safety of the city's critical transit system. We're looking forward to bringing you another gripping story on the next episode of Hear the Web. Thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you, listeners. We'll meet you again on the next episode. Until then, stay safe.